Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It depends where you are. Thank you so much for being here with us today as we discuss the latest travel and industry trends to guide us through 2021 and beyond. So for everyone who doesn't know me, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Amiad Soto, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Guesty. And for anyone who is not familiar with us, we are the leading short-term rental property management platform. In today's virtual event, I will begin by sharing some of Guesty data and insights, and then I'll invite our panelists to discuss the latest travel and industry trends to guide your business through 2021 and beyond. We'll then begin our live panel discussions and conclude with interactive Q&A featuring questions from our audience. I want to start by sharing our data, which shows that holiday booking volumes are primed to be some of the best yet. The remainder of the US and UK 2021 summer reservation volume is up by 122% and 191% higher respectively when compared to the same time frame in 2020, and 48% and 18% higher respectively when what we saw in 2019. And in Australia, the share of domestic travel is up by 40% compared to pre-COVID numbers. The large increase is a significant change from previous years and doesn't come as a surprise, as consumers craving to travel could only do so with domestic trips. It should be noted that over the last 4 weeks, we have seen a minor 3% uptick in cancellations of vacation rental bookings across the US. This is not a significant increase and could be considered a statistical error, meaning consumers still intend to travel amid the Delta variant. Today's cancellation rates for vacation rental bookings is almost the same that we saw this time last year prior to vaccination distribution. And that said, the pent-up demand to travel at all-time high 1.5 years into the pandemic, we are at the highest booking volume we've seen in 2021. Things do look positive. However, there are still many unknowns. In some parts of the world, for example, prices are surging and travel will come at a premium, which is no surprise considering the pent-up demand to travel, resulting in many bookings in advance and ultimately less inventory to choose from. In both the US and UK, reservations will in general cost about a third higher and 19% more respectively compared to last year, and 48% more and 20% more respectively compared to 2019. So across the board, higher prices. This holiday season looks promising too, though it is important to note again that we will see fluctuating numbers in terms of booking volumes due to the new variants like the Delta, coinciding with the flu season. That said, as of now, Thanksgiving 2021 reservation volume in the US is already 81% higher than 2020 and 26% higher than 2019. So remarkable results. In the US, Christmas reservation volume is 58% higher than 2020 and 82% higher than 2019. And in the UK, Christmas reservation volume is 480% higher than 2020 and 2.6% higher than 2019. This data highlights that even given the threat of new variants, consumers are planning, as of now, how to travel over the holiday season and opting to book alternative accommodations, which, as we know, is more private in nature compared to traditional crowded hotel stays. Short-term rentals have officially gone mainstream, and alternative accommodation has become the #1 lodging choice for certain travelers group. And again, I keep speaking about the pent-up demand, but the pent-up demand for travel has resulted in consumers traveling regardless of the risk associated with the new COVID-19 variants, seeking out stays that are private in nature with the amenities of hotel and comfort of a home. For instance, travelers who want to prioritize safety by avoiding traditional busy crowded hotels, especially for parents with unvaccinated children. Remote workers, as corporations have postponed mandating employees return to the office due to the new variant, or digital nomads are continuing to be the key revenue stream for short-term rentals as they experiment with extended stays in various locations, live shopping and test driving, like living like local in many cities. And of course, guest expectations have changed amid the pandemic. Today's average traveler is taking an extra precautions and expects less human contact, which aligns with tech-forward hosts providing contact-free experiences, keyless entry systems or digital concierges, tools to manage their team's tasks remotely, and automate messaging tools to communicate important info like check-in and check-out instructions, all to limit human contact between guests and staff. If you're not marketing your listing as a tech forward, it's time to consider doing so. On a note of communication, Be prepared to implement more automated messages for guests on topics like your safety, cleanliness practices, local restrictions regarding COVID, and activities in and outside of the property to keep them occupied. As guest communication is the most time-consuming part of the job, as Guesty, we have offered in the past and continue to do so a 24/7 guest communication team to do the work for our users. And lastly, it is important to note that consumers are more confident to book if you offer flexible cancellation policies, especially given the threat of new variants and uncertainty about the future. And that considering they will potentially have to spend more time in your units, consider marketing more than just your lodging, showcasing the lifestyle that guests can live in rental with posts on your social channels that showcase your work from home spaces, dedicated exercise area, and local nightlife, etc. And this leads us to Guesty. Guesty was built with the understanding that professional host and property management companies have a ton of tasks to accomplish on a daily basis, whether it be listing distribution, staff management, report creation, accounting, or guest communication. Our software provides solutions that help them automate these tasks in order to save valuable time so they can scale their businesses without sacrificing quality. Throughout COVID-19, our automation technology and ability to streamline and centralize operations has been a massive asset to property management companies worldwide, making it easier for them to quickly pivot their businesses and function with leaner teams. We'll continue to ensure our platform flexibility as we navigate 2021 and beyond together with all of you. So, what are the trends to guide your business through 2021 and beyond? That's what we're going to discuss here today. We'll pass it along to Will.
I want to say thank you very much for everyone for inviting me to be on this panel, and everyone with Guesty. I'm super excited to be here and to share the screen with you and get started. So I'm going to jump in. I don't know how many people know of my podcast or of me. I am based on Camino Island in Washington State, just about an hour north of Seattle and right between the Canadian border and Seattle as a whole. So that gives you a little visual there. I started with Marriott Autograph Collections Hotel in Spokane. I was overseeing 716 rooms, and that's how I got my start into hospitality. As a front desk agent, I fell in love with the industry from that point on. After a few years there at that hotel, I wanted to grow and learn and jump in head on. So I moved to the Oregon coast and took over a 70-unit all-suite hotel. It was a condominium hotel with individual owners as well as an owner group. And, getting into revenue management and guest experiences and creating a great team and culture was something very fun and exciting for me. But during that time, I also got embedded into the vacation rental world with having some family properties that I was helping put on Airbnb and other platforms, to then interviewing industry experts around the world. And I just fell in love with vacation rentals and never looked back. And it's been a fun journey. As of December 27th, 2019, I jumped into podcasting full-time and also running my company called Recreation Vacation Rentals, where we're an experiential hospitality brand where we want to change the way travelers experience homes in unique ways. So we're trying to focus on creating destinations inside of a destination, so that way the guests never have to really leave the property if they never wanted to. But if they do leave, they have all the amazing partnerships that we form in the destination with local businesses and communities around us. So I'm going to show some insights and strategies that the industry players are utilizing to target different travel personas that are emerging from the pandemic. So as we kind of talked about earlier, is that local destinations, travel pods, these are all very popular and continuing trends throughout the pandemic that we've seen. Digital nomads being the carrier of vacation rentals. The question that always comes to mind is, how can we come together? Well, a lot of that involves trust, a lot of that involves community, and a lot of that involves innovation. So we all know that tech forward thinking operators are the ones that are, I think, in my opinion, and from what we're going to probably see in data to show, is that tech forward thinking and operating companies are going to be the ones to receive the highest occupancy and revenue due to the contactless check-in, to have that private accommodation where the travel pods, the families, the maybe coworkers that work remote can have that ability to still have that community, human to human connection. And, local experiences are just, I think we saw pre-COVID, at least in the US, a big push for stay local, eat local, be local, but it wasn't really picking up. We had a lot of travel internationally, but now that we kind of have no choice, people have experienced their backyard in a different way than before. And so I think we're seeing local experiences pop up. So how can you as an operator take advantage of that is by partnering with the best of the best in your destination and finding ways to not just offer accommodation, but to really offer an experience. So marketing, we've talked about behind the scenes, people advertising not only, their COVID-friendly operations and how they're handling turning over properties, adding a 24-hour buffer or enhanced cleaning materials and standardization across the board. This was something that we never really advertised, from hotels to vacation rentals. How many times do you see on Facebook a hotel or a vacation rental company, advertising their housekeeping staff or their cleaning processes? It wasn't very often, but with COVID, that became like the forefront to show trust and transparency to the traveler that was traveling, and that is. So again, safety and accommodations, COVID is a big thing. Trends being seen in the travel industry. So we like to call it at Recreation breaking away from the four walls. So it's no more cookie cutter vacations. There's no longer heads in beds as the term has been. But we like to think that the four walls have been broken in the sense of this is not your average. I just need a place to lay down, to maybe eat or store some food or luggage, and to shower. This is a place where people really want to experience something different. They want to connect, and they really want to, have those moments. We as vacation rental operators, professionals, experts, whatever you want to call us, we have this opportunity to create an environment for that to happen. And so the accommodation no longer equals the destination, or sorry, it does equal the destination. We like to say that the property can become a destination in itself. This is a term that we've been using from previous conversations from guests on the podcast, is the destinationaire, people that are wired to create remarkable experiences are anticipated and shared. And we believe this will stay. I know I asked it as a question here on the slide, but we believe this will be a trend that is no longer a trend. It will become a statement for the time to come and for the recovery and post-COVID. So that is our quick break from the walls there. Predictions for the future of the industry. Again, technology is a huge thing. Goodbye to operational headaches. We use tech, remote access, control access, guest screening, insurance, noise monitoring, all that stuff in order to enhance our guest experience by taking away some of the manual headaches that come with operating vacation homes and other types of properties. So I see this being a very leading change for the days to come. I hope that we never go back to pre-COVID operations of having front desks and all this other stuff. We want people to experience people and let technology allow us to do that. So one of my other predictions and forecasts for the continued future would be that the lines are blurring. We're no longer seeing hotels just be like hotels and vacation rentals just be like vacation rentals. We're really seeing them learn from the best of each other and mold into this hybrid style of accommodation, flexible living, flexible travel, flexible work. All of that stuff is becoming very dominant in our industry. And I believe this is going to stay as long as COVID in the future keeps on happening. And no matter what Delta or variant continues to pop out, I think this is going to be continued. Again, my question, our front desk being ruled out. Being a front desk agent in my beginning of my career, I am glad to say I believe they are and they should. Let's get rid of the desk. Let's open up to technology and let humans really focus on the human task, creating moments, creating memories, and getting the guest to not just be a one-time guest, but to be a lifetime guest there. So we'll go to the next slide. And perfect. So I just want to say thank you for your time, for listening to me kind of ramble on my thoughts and opinions for the industry. You can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on there. You can also check out the podcast at slicktalkthepodcast.com. And with a lot of other presentations, I like to end on a nice quote. It's not the distance that makes destinations seem magical. It's the idea of getting to experience something completely new, making memories with people we love, and getting a wider sense of the world. So I hope that gives you guys some positivity as we continue to move on in this unpredictable time.
Thank you, Will. And that was really insightful. And with that, I'd like to pass it to you, Tyler.
Thank you so much. My name is Tyler Ashby. I'm the Director of Partner Success at Key Data. I've been in vacation rentals for about 11 years, the last 3 at Key Data. And boy, have we seen a lot of stuff change over those years. At Key Data, our focus is really to be the #1 most trusted data and analytics provider in the vacation rental space. And, we do this by connecting directly with your property management software and pulling in real-time data to provide you with analytics. And so in this quick slide presentation, I'm going to talk with you about what we're seeing right now across the United States, Europe, and with that, we'll dig right in. So a couple of notes here. The solid blue line, that's this year as of today, or when this slide was developed. And then the 2 other lines are 2020 and 2019 pacing. So we're going to use that for each of the slides. This one, we're looking at the United States adjusted paid occupancy, which means how booked are we out of the nights that we had available for a paid stay. So we're pulling out any holds. And you can see, just as was explained earlier in the presentation, occupancy has been really, really high in the United States. Basically, after February, we've been outpacing the 2 previous years. When we look at average daily rates, so this is an idea of the price at which things are booking, we can see average daily rate, same thing, outpacing the 2 previous years in the United States. RevPAR, which is a calculation between occupancy and ADR. Both occupancy and ADR were up, so of course RevPAR is up as well. A huge summer across the United States, and as we look out into the fall, the numbers are very, very strong for forward-looking bookings. When we shift over to Europe, we can see that adjusted occupancy has improved through the summer and is looking strong for the fall right now. You can see that basically from about May forward, we began to normalize and then increase over previous performance. One thing to keep in mind, though, when we look at Europe, we're also seeing about twice as many out of inventory nights, hold nights, owner nights, as we would historically. So when we take into consideration straight up paid occupancy and not adjust out those nights from the calculation, we can see that we are on track with previous year performance, but not seeing necessarily that same high, just simply because there are more nights that have been marked out of service. When we take a look at average daily rate in Europe, rates begin to normalize in the fall. So there was, of course, a huge rate increase throughout a lot of the year for booked stays, and it starts to even out with 2019 levels through the fall, still seeing that big increase for the holiday, though. When we look at RevPAR, it's been solid to date and is pacing ahead for the fall. Again, RevPAR is just that calculation between rate and occupancy, and so just as we would expect here. When we look at France in particular, we can see that they had a really great summer, but that occupancy is really normalized at the end of this month. In the United States, the average length of stay, the length of stay is back to normal. If you look toward the beginning of the year, we see that the average length of stay was shorter than expected, and then it really kind of normalizes out for the rest of the year. booking window. I know this is something that is really a hot topic for a lot of property managers right now. And you've been experiencing an extremely short booking window through the first part of the year. That's starting to level out. And we're actually looking toward the fall to see what's going to happen here. But right now, it's pretty normal. It's kind of moved back into that normal time frame as opposed to, back to back to back short booking windows. If we look at houses versus condos, we can see that there's been incredible summer growth in the United States for both, looking back and comparing with 2019. As we slide on over to fall, we can see that houses are pacing a little bit ahead of condos. Some of this is to be expected, right? Houses are going to book further in advance as a rule of thumb than condos. But it's just a slight difference over 2019 that we're seeing for the fall. When we take a look at leisure markets, these are our classic, vacation destination markets. We can see huge increases, great growth in our occupancy rate compared with 2019 pacing across our classic leisure markets in the US. Taking a look at rates, huge rate growth. All of this was explained earlier in the presentation, and it really is happening across all of these leisure markets. Now let's take a look at those rebound markets. So these are going to be more urban markets or markets that experienced really strict travel restrictions in the United States. We can see that the fall is looking much better for occupancy. Take a look at Hawaii and Orlando now that they have the ability to accept some travelers. Really great increases there. If we take a look at rates in our urban core and rebound markets, we can see rates are up almost across the board. So with all this being said, there's a lot of uncertainty. What's going to happen next? And we're really going to be paying close attention to that at Key Data and looking for indicators in our aggregated data sets.
So thank you for all of panelists, both you, Will, and Tyler, for sharing your insight. Let's kick off our panel discussion with questions for all of you. Maybe a question to kick things off is, at 1.5 years into the pandemic, what is the main change you have seen in regards to the short-term rental ecosystem? Let's start with you, Tyler.
Well, I've really found that property managers are smart and agile, and it's made such a huge difference because, we've been doing this for a long time, but as guest needs change and guest expectations change, it's been wonderful to watch the different strategies that property managers on the ground have put in place to better serve their travelers. And I think it's a testament to the ability of, small and medium-sized companies to make changes on the fly and meet that demand and find success in it.
And with that, let me move to ask Will, you launched recreation rentals in the middle of the pandemic. What were some of the challenges you experienced and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, it's a really good question. My previous company that I had before COVID, when I exited, I was given the inventory to manage pretty much right out the gate. And then starting one in the middle of a pandemic, that was definitely different. It was harder to get inventory. I think building trust with ownership and then also getting the systems in place wasn't hard, but in order to get systems in place, it helps to have a lot more inventory than 1 or 0 properties. So that was our biggest challenge. But now that we're scaling and growing and actually getting more contracts every day, I think we just passed 7 or 8 properties signed as of last night. So we're slowly scaling within the last couple of weeks. And it's just been really exciting to see that the systems work and that as we continue to grow and operate that all the hard work in the beginning of getting the inventory is paying off.
Perfect. Let's move on to another question. This one for you, Tyler. Companies that are highly data-driven are leading our industry, will continue to do so. What are some of the metrics you have found the most important to monitor so property management companies can start growing today?
I think this is a really great question. What we find is that we measure what we're used to, we measure what's visible to us, and then we use those to try and become more efficient or grow our business. And what we found at Key Data is that because we have partners all over the United States, Australia, and Europe, we've really found that there are some unique key performance indicators that we can be looking at. And it depends on what stage in your business you're in. If you're in a growth phase where you're trying to add properties, we can give you the ability to really pay attention to the average revenue within your portfolio, how to grow that revenue. But again, it comes down to you're only going to measure what you have visibility into, and Key Data really strives to give you visibility into new areas of your business that you can start to measure and make course corrections to be more efficient, make more money, be a better manager, help more guests, help more homeowners.
Cool. Let's answer some of the questions from the audience. I did prepare some more, but seems like our audience is really active today. So let's follow suit. So we have a question from Courtney to Will. How important do you believe is it to have a custom and cohesive brand to stand out from the other STR competition?
I think it's hugely important. Like, it's one of the main things that we focused on in the creation and formation of our business. Was building a brand, because so often people say, oh, you Airbnb, or that term gets thrown around very often. And at the end of the day, we are not the platform, we are the operator. And so with that, we want to focus on branding to build not only trust with owners and guests, but to really show that when you're building a brand, this is going to build a community, this is going to build a lifestyle rather than just a guest in a bed. We want to really have that attention from all of our travelers long term rather than just per booking.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate what you said. At Guesty, we do see this happening when businesses tend up to pass a certain amount of inventory. So most often it's around 30 to 50 listings when companies start to actually focus and invest resources in branding and marketing themselves and creating this unique repetitive business. So I definitely do see hugely important in it, but obviously the smaller players that are, still managing 5-10 listings are obviously so busy at running their daily business and have not yet reached a scale that it makes sense for them to invest in it. This is where investing in technology really comes into play. So it frees up so much more of your time. So you can either focus on bringing more inventory, building a brand, which gives more credibility when you start selling to owners or repeated guests as well. So definitely kudos there. I saw you unmuting yourself, Tyler. Did you want to add something on it, or?
No, I would just totally agree with what Will said. I mean, I think that, the whole experience of a vacation rental is supposed to be different than a resort or a hotel. It's supposed to be more personal. And so whether you have 2 units or 200 units, I think that the guest expectation is to receive a personalized experience where you can talk to someone that understands what you're looking for. And that's the type of service that sets us apart from other types of travel.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And, Sorry, Will, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's why we invested in technology very early in order to streamline that. My actual internal title with the company is the destination director, because I'm able to let the systems and technology in play to do what it needs to do. So that way I can focus on partnerships and training my team to see moments and act on that and create that personalization experience. So I just think that's a really key part for us as well.
Yeah, and I like the theme here of investing in technology, obviously. So let's move on to a question we got from Heather. Tyler, what is the threshold of units to sign up with Key Data? Meaning how many units does an operator need to have to use your services? She's asking for a friend.
So there really is no threshold. We work really well with very small property managers and very, very large property managers. But you do have to be a professional property manager. So you need to have a professional property management system like Guesty. And then we would be more than happy to help you to identify things in your data that are of interest to you. And I think that that's really important to point out, is that key data is not necessarily a revenue management tool. It is a business intelligence tool. And so we'll work with you personally, one-on-one, to help identify areas that you're interested in or that are goals for your business, and help you to find ways to measure and quantify how you're doing.
Perfect. By the way, if you are a Guesty user, you could reach out to us and we will obviously connect you with Tyler's team through our marketplace, or show you all the available functionality you could use. We act as a trusted advisor as well to help you choose the right platform for yourself. And another question we got anonymously is key data seeing a slowdown in bookings since inflation in June, and also Delta variant spike early this summer. So this is one for you, but I can also attest from Guesty data, like our previous slides here, not really. The only place we do see this impact is in some places in Australia due to their local lockdown there. But the majority of the world is seeing an influx of new reservations and have been performing better than previous years. So really good to see that.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. You know, we have a whole data analytics team at Key Data, and they're constantly combing through this. You know, not me, don't worry, I'm not the one doing it, but they're constantly combing through this data to try and find, you know, are there blips, are there issues, are there things that we should be pointing out to our market level partners? And not yet, and hopefully not at all. But you know, these types of issues are really based more around restrictions to travel as opposed to kind of market conditions right now.
Yeah, and a question for you, Will, with travel recovery becoming more apparent, and especially in some parts of the world, what tips do you have for hosts on meeting guest expectations according to the latest consumer behavioral patterns driving alternative accommodation bookings?
Yeah, the number one go-to I always say is just anticipate your guests' questions ahead of time. So in your listing, like, I know not everyone reads the description and not everyone scrolls through every picture. You know, a lot of us are very much on the instant, like, yep, it fits my price. It looks comfortable and clean based off the first 5 pictures. I'm good to go. It's in the area that I need it. But just have it all out there. We build, you know, list out everything that's going on the property, so that way guests don't have to question if there's a pack and play, if there's high chairs, if there's maybe kayaks on site because you're on a lake, but you don't show the kayaks. And so how do they know if they need to bring their own? Stuff like that. Just have it all out there. Be open and transparent with your property and the amenities. And then maybe save a couple for when they book. You can delightfully surprise them through your guidebook or through your messaging, and saying, you know, here's some local experiences and discounts and offers that we have for our guests that stay.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes this suggestion seems like it. You know, how do I, you know, expect or foresee what my guest would want? And my recommendation here is just to look at your guest communication in your inbox. Like, what has been the common questions and what have been the common themes that people ask you on? And, you know, maybe after they leave, send them like a survey of what they really liked about the property and what they haven't. And maybe you find out that there is a hidden tree house nearby that you can really point out and things like that. So, or a special hiking place or thing like that. So I definitely recommend it. And sometimes if people really enjoyed it, taking a picture and posting that special hiking place on your, you know, listing could be a really a good way to attract even more demand to your booking website. Maybe another question, as mentioned, looking ahead to November and December, the holiday season, we do expect one of the busiest seasons ahead, with seen in years across the UK, US, even Australia, actually. What tips are you sharing with clients to help them navigate this increasing demand for private rentals?
So I guess for the holiday season coming up, it's really going to be, you have to really show the value, and it's not just what do you call it? It's not, again, like kind of playing off of the not just heads and beds deal, but people want to have different types of experiences or just different amenities. So really highlight those different things that they can have while they're there, because as demand increases, so does the price. And when the price increases, people can tend to get a little bit more picky on how their actual stay is. A guest paying $100 a night may not complain about a thermostat kind of not being 100% accurate with AC or heating, but when they're paying $300, $400, $500 a night, the little things really do matter. So just kind of overview, have your team on top of it, highlight the value adds that you're pretty much incentivizing them for that rate. So that really just helps get rid of those pesky complaints that you may not need during that time.
I would say as well right now, don't just think about the holidays, right? If you're looking at Christmas, think about the shoulder weeks, because you're more than likely going to book for those super peak holidays. And the opportunity now is to maximize your revenue around those, because there's more demand than there is space right now for most of our leisure markets. And so start to take a look at those weeks around the peak and see what the booking pattern is there, what you're priced at, and whether or not you can maximize some of those shoulder weeks. And then beyond that, start to look out to next year, because you'll be so surprised. I've been on 10 calls this week with clients that were thinking, we really need to be thinking about Christmas. And when we look at what's booking, we can see that, of course, the holidays are booking, but so is January, so is February. And, what you don't want to do is get behind on keeping track of what rate you're presenting for those months, and leaving money on the table when you don't need to.
Perfect responses here. Great. This one is to you, Will. You have been keeping listeners of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, up to date with the latest hospitality and tourism trends. Which are those trends came to the biggest surprise to you and your listeners?
See, it's hard to put it all, to consolidate it down to a couple. Being able to interview experts and professionals around the world with different types of markets, whether it's multifamily or single family home, urban destinations, non-urban destinations, all this stuff. I would say the top ones is I think it's not a surprise, but the types of automation that operators can do in order to really free up some of that manual labor that goes into the way we function and do revenue management and turnover properties, all that stuff. The automation has been really surprisingly evolved. I would say when I first actually listed a property on Airbnb or any other platform to automate a message, it was always like it would miss part of the guest communication. It would not answer the question fully. It was kind of delayed, stuff like that. But the automation key has been really important for us, and it's been really great to see others kind of really expand on that, because the way that they're able to grow and keep continuing the quality, I think is the big important part. Is how do you maintain a quality 5-star stay when you're automating things and when you're putting these systems in place and maintaining that. So for me, that I was surprised that automation and quality stayed the same, and it didn't go opposite. More automation, less quality.
That's a great answer, especially about technology, given we are a technology company. But I do want to point out one area that I did find interesting is, a lot of the corporates of Americas and the rest of the world is given, flexibility to their employees to not come to the office and take their work elsewhere. And we've seen a lot of rise in domestic travel for people who want to take their family and work in a much more convenient place, one that actually allows them to have their kids playing in the backyard and having a work environment that is really nice. So one of the areas that I do recommend people to do is focus on at least part of your listing description and pictures on the work environment, and explain that it is a really good work environment, a quiet one, that is separated from the rest of the home or the house. And it's really a good place to focus on creating a new demand area for a lot of different types of travel trends that we're seeing. So another one from Heather. Will, what have you seen to be the best value adds to ensure that your guests feel that they have gotten the value that they expected? Amenities, type of linen, gift, welcome baskets, concierge services, etc. Did you see any specific things that really made a more value impact?
The one comment we keep getting in our messaging from guests has been the digital guidebook aspect. I think, people don't really expect it. They kind of expect, to send a message saying, here's your Wi-Fi password, or when they enter to have like a piece of paper taped onto the wall with, maybe some scribblings from a kid prior to the arrival of their stay, that type of stuff. The digital guidebook aspect has been really key for us because all the information's there. It imports from the property management software, all the information about checkout, check-in, whatever it may be, but then also customizing it to kind of handle those little kinks with properties and homes that you come with it. It's not a hotel where every room is the same, and so every layout is similar. This is really kind of getting ahead of that, and so having the digital guidebook aspect, our guests have been loving it. It means less communication to us about any issues or questions that they have. That's been the kind of like a go-to. I hope that answers Heather's question for us. That's kind of just covering all of the bases. They have all the information at one click of a button where they don't have to worry about constantly messaging back and forth.
Perfect. I'd like to take a moment and thank Will and Tyler for their participation and the amazing amount of value you provided with your insights. And thank everyone who attended. Thank you so much, guys.